Good morning, St. Joan of Arc. My name is Steve Friedrichs. I'm on staff here at St. John's, and I am here to welcome you wherever you are on your journey. But I'm also here today to welcome you to Southside Family Charter School. They are here Monday through Friday during the school year, and this is their gym class. So today we have Dr. Alissa Case, the principal to Southside, and they are here to speak on We Are One, dreaming and practicing for another world. Please welcome Dr. Alissa Case.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me to your community today. My name's Alissa Case, and today I'm coming to you as both a proud parent and leadership team member at Southside Family School. When Steve and Julie approached me to speak this morning, they asked me to share my story with you, my hopes and dreams for education, and who we are as Southside, all in 12 minutes. To keep it real, I do not know how to do that. So, I want to give you a glimpse of our school's origins, my experiences, and what I've learned about the challenges we face as educators who want radical change for education, and the work we're doing right now as a school community to live into our dreams. My hope is that you're able to apply some of the same practices to your own work in life as community members committed to expanding justice and love in our world. Southside Family School began 50 years ago as a dream born out of the civil rights movement. It first began as a project backed by the University of Minnesota through the federal Model Cities grant funding, a program seeking to fund ideas of community members committed to anti-racism and the elimination of poverty. The founders, teachers, and family members dreamed of an integrated school committed to truth-telling, having young people understand the origins and devastating impacts of racism, while also learning from the freedom dreams and resistance of movement leaders so that they could become shapers of a different future. Southside has evolved over the years, becoming a multi-generational community in Minneapolis, committed to connecting our history to our present and dreaming our future. One of the founders, Susie Oppenheim, led these dreams with one simple phrase: "We are one," reminding us that, quote, "If we can dream it, we can find a way to do it." And that message empowers all of us, from the youngest to the oldest, to believe in the power of people united behind a vision. As we enter the 50th year of our school, in the midst of an ongoing COVID pandemic, racial uprising and reckoning, climate catastrophe, hateful reactionary politics against Black and Indigenous people, women, queer and trans people, people who are immigrants to this land, and people who are unhoused, along with a myriad of global crises, it feels as if we are once again at a fresh beginning, relearning what justice looks like now and for future generations. Not a relearning that forgets our rich history, but relies on that history as the foundation for a stronger future. I come to Southside as a dreamer myself. I've been in the field of education as a teacher and leader, both in K-12 and higher ed, for 22 years. Like many entering the field, I wanted to impact the lives of young people, and maybe not like many, I believe that school can be a place where social change can be practiced and nurtured. However, my experience in schools has helped me understand how truly difficult that work is. Ultimately, it's been an up-close lesson about the institutionalization of systems of power and oppression. Like all institutions in this country, education was created as a reflection of the very systems of power and oppression, specifically white supremacy, capitalism, and cis-heteropatriarchy, that were established during the theft and colonization of this land. These systems of oppression are the water we swim in. I think that especially for those of us in white bodies, some of the trickiest and most insidious ways that white supremacy works is by normalizing two things. Number one, that the values and characteristics of white supremacy culture are good and right. Hierarchy, a single way of doing things, compliance, individualism, binary thinking, punishment, linear and finite time, and comfort as a right of white-bodied people, just to name a few. And that number two, really deeply discussing race and racism constitutes a threat to white racial belonging and the safety for people of color in white-dominated spaces. I name both of these things in this moment because I believe these are what create the largest challenges from stepping away from status quo schooling and educational systems that continue to perpetuate racist, classist, sexist, homophobic, and transphobic and ableist practices. I've been in several places with language committed to anti-racism, incredible individuals doing radical anti-racist work, but nowhere with all of the necessary pieces for radical transformative work in place. One piece often missing is a sustained community-wide willingness to be collectively unlearning, relearning, and being in the mess of that. I have learned that doing deep radical change work in schools, working for social justice, and creating liberatory practices and spaces will never happen with our dreaming alone. We have to commit to practicing, practices that are in direct resistance to systems of power and oppression. One of my greatest teachers over the past 10 years has been abolitionist activist, thinker, and leader Mariame Kaba. She rejects the notion that hope is merely a naive and passive emotion, a prayer, a wish, a longing. Rather, she states that, quote, hope is a discipline. It's an active and rigorous way of being that actualizes our dreams and visions for another world through identifying practices that embody those dreams and visions. We can't just imagine and speak a new world, although those are crucial components of change. We must practice and unlearn. Hope then is a process of dismantling, learning, and regrooving our nervous systems, and coming to embody liberation individually and collectively. Process and practice don't happen instantaneously. We will and do make mistakes, fall into patterns and practices that are replications of systems of power and oppression, and struggle emotionally, relationally, and psychologically, because resisting the water we swim in is overwhelming work. Yet when we do our work in community and commit to hope together, the possibilities of transformative change increase exponentially. So today I humbly offer a few of the practices that we are trying to work on together at Southside to collectively move toward an embodied experience of social justice and liberation. Our first practice is becoming we, a reminder of Susie's call that we are one. In the multiple pandemics of the last few years and white supremacy's hold on all of our socialization, educators, as is true for many work communities, are experiencing isolation, individualism, and a lack of support. A practice of becoming we centers our independence, humanity, and dignity. A practice of becoming, it looks like asking for support, offering your gifts, naming your boundaries, expressing your needs, and spending time in intentional dialogue to identify our common commitments and values. This is an active unlearning of the values of white supremacy and capitalism and can radically change the felt experience of a community. I invite you to consider, who are your people? How are you discussing and practicing moving in alignment with your values? How do you both ask for and offer support, name what you need, and set boundaries to sustain your work? Our second practice is to lovingly question everything that we do. This isn't a dismissal of our history or throwing away all of our ways of knowing and doing out the window. Rather, this is a practice of slowing down and intentionally reflecting on what we're doing, why we're doing it, what the impacts of our actions are, and whether or not those impacts are in alignment with our commitments and values. In every school that I've been a part of, one of the most common phrases to a questioned action or procedure is, "This is how we've always done it." I have come to learn that that phrase, especially when unexamined, helps to perpetuate systems of power and oppression. For me, This statement has become an invitation to pause, reflect, discuss, gather multiple perspectives, identify the impacts and implications of our actions, and often identifying new ways of doing and being that are in alignment with what we say we care about and are committed to. This practice is the essence of lifelong community activist and philosopher of social change Grace Lee Boggs' call to all of us to transform yourself to transform the world. This is deeply personal work. We must first change our small-scale ways of thinking, being, and doing in order to move to replicating that at larger scales. What are the ways of thinking, being, and doing in your life that require deep reflection and examination? How do you make time to slow down, reflect, gather multiple perspectives, and discuss with your people possible other ways of thinking, being, and doing? How do you offer yourself and your community a balance of support and stretch, grace, and unwavering high expectations to move toward liberation and unlearn systems of domination? One of the most difficult areas of schooling to unlearn domination, power, and oppression is in discipline practices. White supremacy socializes all of us to believe that learning and quote-unquote accountability happen through punishment and control. This is what produces the racially predictable school-to-prison nexus and the struggle to imagine practices to create something beyond this. So our third practice is authentic accountability. This requires us to collectively identify classroom and community practices and procedures that center each person's dignity, safety, and sense of belonging. It demands we, again, slow down and allow the time necessary to create space for reflection, moving at a pace where no further harm will be done, taking responsibility for our individual actions, communicating with care, and taking collective responsibility for justice and repair to occur. Accountability is the process of care and seeking understanding, to learn together how to deepen in relationship in ways that resist punishment and control, and instead honor growth, dignity, and a belief that no one is disposable. How are you working to identify your own beliefs and ways of being that replicate punishment and control? How are you practicing in community ways to protect the dignity, safety, and sense of belonging of all members? Finally, and maybe most importantly in a school community dreaming of a liberatory present and future, our fourth practice is to center the needs, voices, and dreams of our students. History shows us that youth have always been at the front of movement and social change work. Yet the logic of whiteness and ageism often leave young people voiceless in schools, with their powerful agency held hostage by hierarchies of authority, valuing compliance over questioning, and the erasure and exclusion of youth's role in shaping change. Our practice involves listening to our students, learning about their dreams and concerns for their future, asking questions about what they want from their school experience, and being partners to them in making those desires reality. It's finding more and more ways every day to honor their wisdom, connect content and learning to their lives and experiences, and offer opportunities to experience their power as agents of social change. How are you making space in your life to learn from youth? How are you listening to their concerns and dreams for the future and standing in solidarity with them in ways that take seriously the responsibility to contribute to a world for them where liberation is possible? How are you making space at your decision-making table for young people? As I close today, I want to invite each of you to identify your own work and in dreaming and practicing toward a different world. Dreaming and enacting a world different than the one we have all been socialized inside of is big, challenging, sometimes daunting and overwhelming work. One of my most impactful teachers, Adrienne Marie Brown, further expands on Grace Lee Boggs' wisdom. She says, "Transform yourself to transform the world. This doesn't mean to get lost in the self, but rather to see our own lives and work and relationships as a front line, a first place where we can practice justice, liberation, and alignment with each other and the planet." What will you practice? And with who? Every small shift toward liberation matters because we are one. Thank you.